She treated a customer with kindness and got fired for it, but the next day, she walked back in as the boss. Megan wasn't looking for trouble. She never had been. She wasn't the kind of person who made waves or picked fights. She believed in showing up, doing her job, and treating people with kindness. That was how she had been raised. Simple principles: work hard, respect others, and keep your head down. When things got messy, sometimes doing the right thing had consequences, and she was about to learn that the hard way. For almost 3 years, Lancaster Grill had been her second home. It wasn't fancy, just a local diner on the east side of Columbus, Ohio, tucked between a gas station and a laundromat. The kind of place where truckers stopped for coffee, where families came for Sunday breakfast, and where the waitstaff learned your order before they learned your name. It was the kind of job that was easy to take for granted. The hours were long, the pay wasn't great, and the management barely cared. But Megan stuck with it. She had bills to pay. Her rent was already too high for a one-bedroom, and her younger brother Evan was in his second year of college. He didn't know she helped cover his textbooks and groceries when their mom couldn't. She never told him, just sent a little extra when she could. That was why she took double shifts, why she put up with customers who barely looked her in the eye and coworkers who acted like kindness was a weakness. She had seen things here that made her stomach turn. The way Beth, a senior waitress, treated some customers like they didn't exist, while she laughed and flirted with others. How Jason, a newer server, avoided certain tables altogether. How the whole energy of the restaurant changed depending on who walked through the doors. It wasn't just about money. A well-dressed businessman would get smiles and conversation. A working-class customer in a paint-stained uniform got rushed service, and if someone looked like they might not tip well, some of the staff wouldn't even try. Megan hated it, but calling it out wasn't an option. She had learned that the hard way. A few months back, she'd made a casual remark about how a table had been waiting too long while Beth lingered by the counter, scrolling through her phone. Beth had looked her dead in the eye and said, "You don't get paid extra for being a saint, Megan." That was how it was. Either you went along with it, or you learned to keep your mouth shut. Megan had chosen the latter. Until that night. And after that night, nothing would ever be the same again. The dinner rush had come and gone. It was a slow Wednesday evening, the kind Megan actually didn't mind. Fewer customers meant fewer complaints, fewer spills, and fewer fake smiles from her coworkers who only turn on the charm when it suited them. She was at the counter refilling the sugar dispensers when the bell above the door jingled. An older black man walked in. His clothes were clean, but slightly worn, nothing flashy, just a simple button-up and slacks. He carried himself with quiet confidence, but there was something in his posture, in the way he took a brief second to scan the room before stepping forward. Megan recognized that hesitation. She had seen it before, especially in customers who already knew what kind of welcome they were or weren't about to get. Sure enough, the response was immediate. Beth, leaning against the counter, didn't even look up from her phone. Jason, who had been joking with another server near the drink station, glanced toward the door for a split second and then went right back to his conversation. No greeting, no welcome to Lancaster Grill, just silence. Megan felt the weight of it, thick and uncomfortable. This wasn't an accident. Her coworkers had made a choice. For a second, she considered keeping her head down, staying out of it. It would be easier. It always was. But then she glanced at the man again, the way he stood there, waiting like he was giving them a chance to prove him wrong just this once. So Megan made a choice too. She wiped her hands on a napkin, grabbed a menu, and walked straight over. "Evening, sir," she said, her voice warm but casual. "Just you tonight?" The man met her eyes, and something in his expression softened. "Yes, ma'am," he said, his voice steady. Megan smiled and gestured toward an open booth near the window. "Follow me." "You okay with the booth?" "Perfectly fine," he said, as he settled in.
She handed him a menu and pulled a pen from behind her ear. "Can I start you off with something to drink?" "Coffee," he said. "Black." "Coming right up." Megan moved quickly, grabbing a fresh pod and pouring his cup herself. She could feel Beth's eyes on her, Jason watching too, but she didn't turn around as she set the coffee down in front of him. He glanced around the restaurant, then back at her. "You the only one working tonight?" he asked, voice low enough that only she could hear. Megan knew what he meant. She flicked her gaze toward the others. Beth was now whispering something to Jason, both barely trying to hide their smirks. "Feels like it sometimes," she said. That made him chuckle.
He flipped open the menu and scanned the options. "What's good here?" Megan tilted her head. "Depends on what you're in the mood for. If you're looking for something solid, the pot roast is made fresh, but if you want my personal favorite, the grilled salmon's the way to go." He raised an eyebrow. "That's so?" She nodded. "Promise you won't regret it." He smiled, small but genuine. "Salmon it is." Megan jotted it down. By the time she placed the order and returned with a fresh coffee refill, she could feel the shift in the air. It was subtle, but there. The way Beth's eyes narrowed, the way Jason kept glancing toward the booth like he was waiting for Megan to slip up or say something she shouldn't. Even Tom, the manager, had peeked out from his office, scanning the room before disappearing again. Megan had the sinking feeling that she had just put a target on her back, but she wouldn't know how bad it was until the next morning. Megan had barely slept. Something about the way Beth had muttered under her breath, the way Jason had smirked, and the way Tom had peeked out of his office gave her a bad feeling. But she told herself she was overthinking. She had done nothing wrong. If anything, she had done exactly what a waitress was supposed to do: serve customers. So why did her stomach twist as she pulled into the Lancaster Grill parking lot the next morning? The air was crisp, the sun barely peeking over the buildings, as she grabbed her apron from the passenger seat and slung it over her shoulder. A couple of cars were already in the lot, including Tom's.
Megan stepped inside, expecting the usual, Beth and Jason standing around chatting, the kitchen crew prepping for the morning shift, the radio humming low in the background. But something was off. Beth wasn't leaning against the counter like she usually did. Jason wasn't making coffee or cracking jokes with the line cooks. Instead, both of them were watching her. Beth had a sly little smile, Jason had his arms crossed, and neither of them said a word. Megan's grip tightened on her apron. Then the sound of a door creaking open. Tom. He stood in the doorway of his office, looking at her like he had been waiting for her to walk through that door. "Megan," he said flatly, "come with me." A cold pit settled in her stomach. Tom didn't answer, just turned and walked back into his office. Megan swallowed hard. She could feel Beth and Jason still watching her as she made her way to the back. She took a breath, squared her shoulders, and stepped inside. The office was cramped, the desk covered in paperwork and old coffee stains. A file sat open in front of Tom, but he wasn't looking at it. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, let out a slow breath, and said, "We're letting you go." The words hit like a slap. Megan blinked, her mind scrambling to make sense of what she had just heard. Tom's expression didn't change. "It's not working out." Her heart pounded. "Not working out?" She let out a sharp laugh, one that had no humor in it. "I've been here almost 3 years. I've never missed a shift, never been late." Tom exhaled through his nose, already tired of the conversation. "It's a decision we've made." Megan knew what that meant. Her throat tightened. "This is because of last night, isn't it?" Tom didn't confirm. He didn't have to. His silence was enough.